AITA for exposing the truth about my family after they let me take the blame for years? I'm a man in my early 30s, and for most of my life, my family saw me as the problem. Not because I was reckless or cruel, but because it was convenient. Every family needs someone to point at when things go wrong, and somehow, that person was always me. If my younger brother failed a class, it was because I distracted him. If my parents argued, it was because I was too sensitive and made things tense. If money went missing, everyone just assumed I had borrowed it without asking. I learned very early that defending myself only made things worse. Silence was easier. Silence kept the peace. Growing up, I was constantly told to be the bigger person. That phrase followed me like a shadow. It meant apologizing even when I hadn't done anything wrong. It meant taking responsibility for mistakes I didn't make. It meant watching my reputation slowly rot while everyone else stayed comfortable. My parents would say things like, "You know how your brother is," or "Your sister is too emotional to handle criticism." So somehow it always landed on me to absorb the damage. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was being trained to be the family scapegoat. The worst part was that I started believing it. I genuinely thought maybe I was difficult. Maybe I was the problem. So I worked harder to be agreeable. I helped with bills. I watched my nieces and nephews for free. I showed up to every family event. I listened to complaints about everyone else's lives and kept my own struggles quiet. On the outside, I looked like the dependable one. On the inside, I was constantly anxious, walking on eggshells, terrified of doing something that would confirm their narrative about me. Things reached a breaking point 3 years ago when my father got into serious financial trouble. He had made some risky decisions that didn't pan out, but instead of being honest, he let the family believe I was involved. Not directly accused, just heavily implied. Comments like, "Well, you know how impulsive he can be," or "He's always had trouble managing money." No one asked me what actually happened. They didn't need to. The story fit too well. I lost relatives because of that. People stopped inviting me to gatherings. One aunt told me she was disappointed in me. A cousin unfriended me on social media. My parents never corrected the story. When I confronted my mom privately, she told me, "It's not the right time to clarify things. Let's just move on." That's when I realized something painful. My reputation was less important to them than avoiding discomfort. I moved out shortly after that and started building my life quietly. I got therapy. I started writing things down. I began to see patterns that I'd ignored for years. Every major family conflict had followed the same formula. Someone else made a mistake, emotions ran high, and I was positioned as the cause or the solution. And every time I stayed silent, it reinforced the lie. The final straw came last year when my parents hosted a big family gathering. I wasn't invited, but I found out later that my name came up more than once. According to a relative who felt guilty enough to tell me, my parents openly joked about how I was always the difficult one, and how they were relieved I wasn't around anymore to cause drama. That night something snapped in me. I wasn't angry in a loud way. I was calm, clear, done. So I did something I'd never done before. I told the truth. I didn't scream. I didn't insult anyone. I wrote a long, factual post and shared it privately with extended family. I included dates, screenshots, bank records, messages, and receipts. I explained, step by step, what had actually happened over the years. I showed proof that I wasn't responsible for my father's financial mess. I shared messages where my parents asked me to stay quiet for the sake of the family. I explained how often I'd been pressured to take blame so others wouldn't look bad. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't add emotion. I just laid out the timeline. The response was immediate and explosive. Some relatives apologized. Others went silent. A few accused me of airing dirty laundry. My parents were furious. They called me ungrateful, dramatic, and cruel. My mother cried and said I embarrassed her. My father said I betrayed the family by turning everyone against them. What hurt the most wasn't their anger. It was that they never once denied what I said. They didn't argue the facts. They just hated that I finally stopped protecting them. Since then, my relationship with my family has been effectively over. I'm no longer invited to holidays. My parents tell people I'm holding a grudge. They say I could have handled it privately, even though every private attempt I ever made was shut down. Meanwhile, my life has changed in ways I didn't expect. I sleep better. I don't flinch when my phone buzzes. I don't feel the constant pressure to manage everyone else's emotions. Still, guilt creeps in sometimes. I was raised to believe family loyalty meant silence. That love meant sacrifice. That truth was less important than harmony. And part of me wonders if I crossed a line by finally speaking up, even if it shattered the image my family worked so hard to maintain. So now I am asking, AITA for exposing the truth about my family after they let me take the blame for years just to keep themselves comfortable? Thanks for watching. Tap like and subscribe if you're into wild Reddit drama. Speech Balloon got an opinion? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear what you would have done.